Thank you so much for joining us today on Coffee With. My guest today is Don Brown from Warren Yazoo Mental Health. Welcome, Don.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad you finally made it here.
I am too.
It took me a while, but I was persistent.
I told you it would have to be my funeral
That's
for me
right.
not to be here today.
That's right. Well, I hope that does not happen during
No
the
time soon.
Okay.
Let's give me a few more decades or so.
Okay, that's a deal.
All right.
Now, Don, you are the you're the Warren County Director for Warren Yazoo Mental Health.
Right.
And tell me what all that entails.
Well, it's the overall operation. Warren Yazoo Mental Health has been around since 1975 and started with a group of concerned citizens here when there was a situation and there was no really supportive counseling therapy available. So it really started out of Old Mercy Hospital, which was then Parkview Hospital, and now is our River Region now. And it started in a small office there and eventually evolved into the old Mayfan building. For people that have lived in Vicksburg a long time, they know the old Mayfan building. It was the employment service, I understand, at one time, but it's on Adams Street. And we were there until October 1993, where then we had the vision to try to develop a complex that we could have all our full comprehensive services in one place and create this campus atmosphere. So now we're out at 3444 Wisconsin Avenue. As I said, been out there since October 93, and we've got 5 buildings on that site. We did have to end up expanding down the street just a little bit. A lot of people remember the Hayes Marketing building. So we do have that building, and we provide some programs out of there now. So we've grown quite a bit as a community mental health center.
Now, the 5 buildings you do have some residential there at that campus,
We have 2 residential programs there. One is a group home for adults that have a mental illness, and it's supposed to be a sort of a transitional living situation. Some come directly out of hospitals, or they may have been in a living situation where they just was kind of tucked back in a room and not really allowed to have much freedom to go out and do what they want, and come in there to have their individual rooms. And I always tell people I never want our group homes, which are therapeutic group homes, to be confused with personal care homes. Because personal care homes, a lot of times you may have up to 4 people in one room, and as far as nutrition, a lot of times some of them don't quite give people what they really need. But therapeutic group home, we're there providing good supportive environment for them. Everybody has their own individual rooms where they can decorate it the way they want to a degree. And they help prepare their own meals, and they learn to do things they would have to do if they were out independent. So making sure they have to be ambulatory and able to take care of the needs, because it's not a medical facility, so there's not medical staff there, but they come there and they learn, and we hope people will stay there for maybe 6 months, maybe 2 years, and then they move into a more independent living situation.
Now, y'all have a new program. Several months ago, there was an article in the paper, and that's actually what prompted me to call you.
Yeah.
Y'all started a new program that I'm really interested in. It's called Tele-Psychiatry.
Yes.
Tell me how that works. I'm interested in the whole spectrum of it, but I don't understand how it works on the end of the client.
Sure. Now, let me just tell you how that started, too. We've always wanted this telemedicine, and you've heard it probably in different venues, and when it comes down to especially the Delta region, the Delta Health Alliance is the conduit for this happening. They went out and secured the funds to be able to provide this telemedicine to the people in the Delta areas where there's so many places that don't have specialists. And they partnered with the University Medical Center Psychiatry Department. And working with a Dr. Norquist over there, they were able to get some of their psychiatrists. And the funding pays for psychiatrists to be with us via telemedicine. But through the Health Alliance, we were able to buy the equipment that it takes to make this happen. And basically, it's a television, and it's sort of one of the picture-in-a-picture type television that you used to have. And so what we had to do, we designated a certain office as the telemedicine office. And the television is sitting there, and when it's time, and right now it operates on Tuesday afternoons. And it's like, I tell people, when I was little, I remember them talking about, at one day, you'll be able to call somebody and you'll be able to actually see them. And today,
and
that
here
day
we
is
are.
here. And via this telemedicine, we just dial up that number to the University Medical Center, and Dr. Ali, who's the person that runs that clinic, is on the other end. And our clients, and it is new for them, you know, they've never experienced something like this. Some are new clients that come in on it. And when they come in, there's a nurse always accompanying them. So when they're in the office, they're with the nurse. And there's a lot of, as far as the vision, being able to see that person, but you can move the cameras around, because the psychiatrist not only wants to be able to see your face and hear the words and your description of what's going on, he wants to see your body movement. He wants to see if your feet is patting. He wants to see is there a nervous knee here or some twitch somewhere. Because, you know, with some medications, it does have that kind of side effect that it may cause those kind of things. So they're doing this overall visual assessment of the person. But most people have not had a problem with it at all. They're very comfortable with it. They can see him very big on the screen. It's probably about a 42-inch screen.
So the clients actually come to your office,
To
and
our
that's
office.
where they have the tele-appointment with the psychiatrist over in Jackson.
Yeah, they're
Do
at
you
the University
think
Medical
eventually
Center.
people will be out in the Delta and be able to go somewhere there, or maybe if they have a computer at home, they can connect?
Sure. And I tell you what, we have another program called PACT. And this will be a program that will go out and service people in the community. And these are people that have proved to be kind of non-compliant with traditional service, meaning they won't come in for their psychiatry visit, they won't come in to see their therapist. And we'll be going to them, and we're hoping to have the computers, like laptop computers,
Sure.
and go to their home and actually be able to see the psychiatrist through the telemedicine, telepsychiatry, right there in that person's home or wherever they may be.
Look, I'm getting ready to have webcams in my office so that customers that can't come in,
Right.
we can dial them up, have a face-to-face conversation, review their policies,
It's
do
a
what they
great
need to
thing.
do.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, even people sitting at their office sometimes, they have questions. We need to look at stuff. It sure is nice to be able to see each other. And this is such a useful way to use the
Huge
technology.
savings. It's a
Yeah.
huge saving. And you talk about efficiency of your time, too. You don't have the travel time
Right.
involved now. We go over to make visits at the state hospital to see the patients over there that are from Warren County, to kind of see what their status is right now. If they're talking about discharge planning and coming back, we have started being able to have our case managers that would go over there to just dial up the Mississippi State Hospital, because they have the equipment also, and they can bring that person, talk to the social worker, and be able to find out what the status is, do the discharge planning, and they're able to see each other face to face. They don't have to have that travel time and even
Or the gas money.
Exactly.
Right.
And the different meetings, trainings, even meetings from in our region, because we do cover Warren and Yazoo County. So instead of me having to go to Yazoo for a meeting, or from Yazoo to come down here, we can just turn on the telemedicine site, the equipment, and we can just have our meeting sitting where we are.
That is outstanding.
It is a wonderful thing.
Okay, enough about business. Tell me about you. You from Vicksburg?
Native of Vicksburg, love it to death.
Born and raised.
Yeah.
Went off to school.
Yeah.
Where'd
Well,
you go?
I went to Alcorn,
Went
so
to
I didn't have to
Alcorn.
go very far.
Okay.
And got my bachelor's degree there in sociology and social services.
Uh-huh.
Fortunately, I was able to come back and find a job, you know, but I always tell them, especially with new graduates, you know, how frustrating it is when you get out and you think that everybody's waiting on you because you got a degree, and came back and was disappointed like most people, you know, because you go to these jobs and people say, oh, I really like you, but you don't have any experience.
Right.
And it's that thing, well, how am I ever going to get any experience if nobody will hire me?
True.
And I tell young people a lot of times that's frustrated with that, my best advice my daddy ever gave me from a job-seeking standpoint or point of view was, it was this one job that I really thought I was going to get. The interview went so well, I could just tell it was good. Got my heart broken when the lady called me and said, well, we really like you, but somebody came in that had experience and we're going to have to hire them. And I'm telling you, it was crushing. My daddy told me, he said, why don't you call those folks back and see will they allow you to volunteer? And I did, and they accepted me. And at that time, there was where Good Shepherd is now.
Uh-huh.
It was called the Vicksburg Children and Youth Clinic.
Uh-huh.
A lot of federal funds going in it for health for children and their families. And it was dentistry and all the full gamut. And they allowed me to come and volunteer there. And within 2 to 3 months, I had a job, full-time job. So I tell people sometimes maybe that's the way to go sometimes. It's not always about the pay. Mm-hmm. You got to go in and prove yourself, let people see you, learn your personality, your work ethic, and that kind of thing. And it turned out that was my first job, not actually with the Children's Youth Clinic. It was actually the Early Education Center that's located in Beechwood Elementary now.
Oh, really?
It was just starting. It was a part of the school district, and it was the first year of this grant. And I tell people, they say, how long has that been in existence? And I can tell them exactly that it was October of 1977 because I had finished, got my bachelor's degree in May of 77, and that was my first job working with the Vicksburg Early Education Center.
My goodness.
But ended up going on to the Department of Human Services a few years, worked for the Employment Service a few years, and then landed at Mental Health. Went back and got a graduate degree in rehabilitation counseling. Did some postgraduate work in group psychotherapy and those kind of things. When I found out this was my niche and this is where I was going to be. And it's been a wonderful career. And I tell you, being able to be here in my hometown, helping people that I know, that I went to school with, that their children, now actually their grandchildren.
Right.
It's very gratifying to be able to help my community because I love it. And when I used to go out of town, a lot of times I would always talk so much and well about Vicksburg. People used to ask me, do they pay you to do this? No, I just love it.
You just love it.
Yeah, but of
now,
course,
what do you do for fun?
Well, probably people would probably say for fun I probably go to meetings.
Now, Don, come on.
Well, our whole life is just one big meeting from one place to the other.
I know.
But when you're involved in the community a lot and you want to make a difference, that's what I really do. I love sports.
Now, do you have children or grandchildren?
I have 4 children. I have 7 grandchildren. And my wife and I, and believe it or not, she grew up here in Vicksburg just like I did. But back then, your mobility wasn't a great big deal then.
Yeah.
I grew up on this side of town. My wife grew up on the other side of town. She ended up graduating from then what was called South Vicksburg High School, and I graduated from North Vicksburg High School. I played a lot of sports, and she was athletic herself, playing basketball, ran track and all this. But for some reason, we never crossed paths through our whole high school, everything. And then I went on, I played college baseball, and when all of that was over, I played a lot of Bush League baseball. And I ended up playing with her brothers and stuff, and that's how I met her. And she played softball, so we kind of go traveling around the little Bush League. The ladies would play the softball, and the guys would play the area and baseball. We eventually got together. Turns out, she's like, we were born 1 month apart. Again, graduated the same year. Love sports, so we got a lot in common. And so
and how long have you been married?
Last week we celebrated our 29th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a long time for people of our generation.
Yeah, but we go to ball games. It's amazing sometimes. Football, for sure. We've gone to 4 football games in one weekend sometimes.
Oh, my goodness.
Everywhere from the high school to the junior college to a smaller college to a university, sometimes in one long weekend. But
Wow.
we got a lot of things in common, and I tell people I think that's a big key. It helps a lot when you have a lot of common interests.
What have I not asked you that you want people to be sure to know?
I believe in volunteering and giving to the community and being involved. And I think that you need to get to the table. A lot of people, I decided a long time ago, and I grew up right in the midst of the civil rights movement. I was born in 55, so 65 through the 70s, all this. I'm a young kid watching what's going on. And it was pretty active here in Vicksburg as far as things going. And I didn't know if I really wanted to be the guy on the street that was doing all the things on the street. I said, I want to get on the inside. I want to get to the table and have some influence there. But I tell people there was a very important role, and it needed to happen, a lot of the things that were happening on the street, because that was the only way you really got the attention. But I wanted to get on the inside, and fortunately I was given opportunities to do that. And being able to volunteer and serve on these, I tell you, one of the things I'm really proud of, I did get to serve on the State School Accreditation Commission for 8 years and got to have some influence on our school system. A lot of things I didn't really agree with, but I was at the table and was able to voice my point of view, and there were a lot of people who supported my point of view. Over the past 6 years, I've been able to be appointed by the governor to the State Personnel Board that looks over about 32,000 state employees. And and this is my 3rd year actually being the chairman of it. And that's quite gratifying too, and being able to look at the workforce. And it's been really, really challenging, now that the state budget is tight.
Yeah.
And a lot of agencies are downsizing, so we look at the reduction in force. They've had to request furlough, the ability to do furloughs if they have to. But being able to serve the people of Mississippi, that's what I really have enjoyed having the opportunity to do. And it just doesn't happen. I think God has always been with me and put me in places where I really wanted to go. And as a young person, I used to say I wanted to be in public relations. I don't even think I knew exactly what public relations was at the time. But I think, you ask for things, you really want to be it, and sometimes it just kind of dawns on you that you've been able to do what you really asked and wanted to do. And even though I'm county director of Warren Yazoo Mental Health, it allows me to be out in the community a lot, selling the program, talking about people with disabilities and making people more sensitive to the needs of folks that have disabilities, but also letting them know that folks with disabilities got a lot of abilities, and give them the opportunity and give them the respect that they deserve like everybody else. Because we never want people to think, well, that's a schizophrenic person. They don't call me a high blood pressure person. I'm a person with high blood pressure. They're a person that has schizophrenia or major depression or some type of anxiety. And just because they have a mental illness certainly doesn't mean that they can't do things. And we know that it's debilitating in certain ways where some can't really go out and maybe hold a job. But you've got some that can hold a job and function and do as well as anybody else, saying that they take their medications, do their therapy, do what they need to do, and they function just as well as any of us. And I'm going to tell you one other thing that I think that people need to watch because it was so good. A Beautiful Mind.
It's a great movie.
Have you've seen it?
Absolutely.
It's about the best depiction of a person living with mental illness I've ever seen.
The family living with it, really.
Yes, and that's a big thing.
It affected her as much as it did him.
Absolutely, but you know how that movie started. You just fed into this guy's delusion. His whole movie was the delusion of him being so important as far as being the agent in the United States, wanting him to come figure out this big equation or whatever. And it was all this, and man, this is really exciting, and going, getting his little messages out of the mailbox and all the secretive CIA or FBI or who all those folks were. And then at the end to find out that this whole world that we just looked at was a delusion, shows you this is what people live with that have a mental illness.
And it seems real.
It is so real.
It's real to them.
And when I have people come into our office sometimes and they're very delusional, I tell people the best way, and that's for anybody out here, if a person is delusional and you know it really is, don't go and dispel that delusion right away. Don't go in there and say, oh, that's not real. That's ridiculous. The FBI isn't talking to you through that television. Nobody's come and plant or whatever you call it under your skin. Nobody's doing it. If you do that, you just lost them. You got to feed into the delusion. You just got to really be interested in it. You got to ask questions about it. I had a young lady who was highly intelligent that thought the thing was planted in her skin and the FBI was monitoring. And she had a professional job. And, the onset of mental illness is between 15 and 25. And this young lady had gotten on a professional career. And she didn't think anything was wrong with her, but her peers at this university she was working at had convinced her to come see me. And the only way I finally got her in to see our psychiatrist was that she kept complaining about headaches. And I said, well, look, because I'm feeding into all the delusion. Yeah, you're right, man, that's got to be scary. I don't know how you're handling this, but look, as far as your sleeping and your headaches, why don't you go ahead and see our doctors and let them give you something for your headaches? and may be able to help you to sleep. And she agreed to that. But now if I'd have got in there and just tried to dispel those delusions, I would have suddenly become part of the conspiracy, part of the enemy. And she agreed, and she went and saw the doctor, got on the medication. Let me tell you, the lady started doing 100% better. And that's the kind of, I guess, it's so gratifying when you do see that you help people and improve their quality of life, because as you said, it affects the whole family, it affects the neighborhood, it affects the community, it affects this whole city. And right now, we're dealing with situations in this town right now that some people are still falling through the gaps, because it's that balance between people having their rights. We could see somebody walking up and down Washington Street now talking to themselves, you know, maybe dressed a little inappropriate, but nothing that's against the law. And people obviously know something's maybe not right. And they'll see me and say, aren't you mental health? Why don't you do something about that person? If that hadn't got to a physical or life-threatening situation for themselves or somebody else, we can't do anything, because that person's got his right. They may choose to live that way. Had an example in New York City where one of their mayors thought he was going to be a big hero during election time, and he was going to help this lady that he knew had to be mentally ill because she lived on the street and all these things. And so he had this lady involuntarily committed, picked up, excuse me, took her through all the evaluations, did all these things. They found out nothing was wrong with the lady. She just chose to live that lifestyle. She sued New York City and won. So people need to know, Warren Yazoo or no other facility can just go in and just make somebody take their treatment. They have to come to us and want it. So that's the reason a lot of times, but we're trying to do a lot more things as far as crisis, and people will hear things about deinstitutionalization. A lot of people that used to be in the hospitals and things are no longer there. They're coming out in it because it's all about now more community-based and home-based services. And that's where we are right now.
Well, Don, thank you so much for the many, many things you do in this community. And
thank you.
Thank you for coming and having coffee with me. Finally.
Finally, it's right. And I'll come back because I got lots more to say.
I'll look forward to it.
And you know, we just had the community job fair through the Chamber of Commerce, and it was a big success.
Excellent.
And you know, I'm the chairman of that committee.
I didn't know that.
And we did it. We had about 1,400 people to come. We had 60 different employers down there. And the numbers will come out really soon, but we estimate there'll probably be about 600 or more people that'll get jobs.
Well, you'll have to come back and we'll talk about that another day.
We'll do it.
Thanks,
All
Don.
right.
Promotional consideration provided by
Amber Sanders from Happy Hair. Get your hair happy at 3402 Wisconsin Avenue.